Intelligence doesn't protect you from having like the wrong ideas, right? At all. All it does is it gives you a greater cognitive capacity to process information. But unfortunately, if like the systems that are in your mind to go about thinking about things are weak or poor, right? You don't have good mental hygiene. You don't know how to present yourself with counterfactuals or to thought challenge yourself. You don't know how to like look for opposing positions. You don't know how to like catch yourself when you're being overly confident within your bias. Then you're stuck.
My thing is this. The United States is a Christian country. It was founded by Protestant Christians.
No, it's a secular country.
Well, here's the thing. So
we have freedom of religion. It's always
we
been
do.
the way.
We do.
It's very, okay, don't let any Christian nationalist. I was checking in this because I was like, I'm pretty sure most of the founding fathers, I think one of them was explicitly a Christian. One founding father, I forget his name. And he held the position that it should be a free religion country, that like being American doesn't mean being Christian. The others were like deists at best, which again, at that time, to be a deist, you're damn well near a fucking agnostic, right? Like when we think about like the times of like how pervasive Christian culture was, like most of the founding fathers, don't let Christian nationalists fucking cope, okay? Most of them were deists, and deists in a time when Christianity is so effervescent is damn near a fucking, it would be an agnostic nowadays. Is Myron a Christian nationalist? No. When I hear him talk about Muslims, it's like weirdly self-hating. Like he spends a lot of time with white supremacists, but he's also pretty defensive of like Muslim people, which is very interesting because I think he's only culturally Muslim. Myron is also based, not really. He's principled and he sticks to them, but his principles are kind of shit and he hasn't updated the way that he thinks in like the last 2 to 3 years, and it's showing. And it's going to show in this, where fucking apparently Sneeko mogs him, is what I've heard. We'll see.
But when they had the freedom of religion and the separation of church and state, that was instituted not just for freedom of religion purposes, but also because there are the fights between Catholics, Baptists, Protestants, etc. So what they wanted was they wanted to separate the church from the state so that neither can corrupt the other. Does that make sense? Yeah. So like the separation of church and state was actually instituted to protect both institutions from corrupting each other.
The founding fathers had an opportunity to use the Bible and the Constitution, and they decided not to because it's a secular country. Because they
do reference God. They do reference God in there.
But they say God. They don't say Jesus, which is more universal. And they were very specific about that. Yeah. Thomas Jefferson himself, he also said that he wants America to be for the Jews, for the Mohammedan. This is a quote: the Mohammedans.
All right, we're gonna track the positions. Starting out the gate, Myron Gaines. America is a Christian nation. Sneeko, it's a secular one. Sneeko's soul has been healing from the bit I've seen. I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. He's still pretty hateful. He's still pretty bigoted. He's still very much like enmeshed with like more hateful groups. I just think that he doesn't think Myron Gaines is like a philosopher king anymore, or Andrew Tate is a philosopher king, which is good. You know, that's a good step in the right direction, but I don't want to give too much credit.
Sure. You call them Mohammedans?
That's what he said.
That's funny.
The Mohammedans.
That's funny.
I think it was common back then. So he specifically referenced that. Also in DC, there's a mural on the top on the ceiling with depictions of prophets and of different gods from all religions.
Are you sure? Because in Islam, they're not supposed to depict.
Yeah, they're not supposed to depict, but it's not, they weren't Muslim, but yeah, there is a depiction.
Are you sure that that's references like Islamic prophet? Like, because remember, we share the same prophets as them. So like they could, like we observe Moses, Jesus, Abraham, like we observe all of them as prophets. So look, my thing is like, and even with the church bells, like
it's always like the funniest thing to hear Muslims being like, we observe Jesus as a prophet, and it's like, yeah, the Christians don't agree with you. He's not just a prophet to the Christians. He's God to the Christians.
Let's assume they play church, because church bells are banned in a lot of places. But let's assume
I hear to my apartment in New York.
That's New York is, I don't know what the rules are in New York. But the thing is, let's assume that church bells are legal everywhere. Let's assume they're legal everywhere and they play them loud and everything. This is still a Christian country. I think they can do that. Like,
what does that mean? It's a Christian country.
This was founded by Christians. But this is a Christian nation.
But we have freedom of religion. But it's not in the Bible's not referenced.
We have freedom of religion. But at the end of the day, we did not. Muslims. We are guests here. We are not the. This is not a Muslim nation. This was not founded by Muslims. Like at the end of the day, the host religion gets to assert a level of dominance, unfortunately, because they are the majority and they're the ones that.
But the founding fathers didn't intend for that. They didn't even say that. They didn't say they want Christian dominance. If they wanted Christian dominance, they would have included the Bible and the Constitution. They would have said Jesus.
Well, they did that, like I said before, to avoid issues between Baptists and Protestants and Catholics, because this was an issue back in Europe with the church and the state being involved and intertwined. But when they forged it, they didn't expect, oh yeah, we're going to have freedom of religion, but let another religion come in and dominate.
Man,
Let me explain.
This freedom of religion thing that's been popping off more with like the question about like the imam's call to prayer for Muslims in America is very interesting. It's very interesting to quickly watch Christians who have been screeching about the threats to freedom of religion and how important it is that they have freedom of religion very quickly show that they don't mean it. They only mean freedom for me. Definitely not for thee, because we don't want Muslim freedom of expression in religion, which the church bells are considered under the First Amendment, right? It's free speech. It's free religious expression.
So like if you go to any of these Muslim countries, right, you can practice in peace, right? You can practice Christianity or your religions in peace, except for, I don't think paganism is allowed in any of the Muslim countries. That's a problem. But if you're a Jew or if you're a Christian or whatever, you can practice. But like, you can't like assert that religion openly, like praying on the streets or doing anything like that in a Muslim country.
You could pray in the streets in a Muslim country.
In huge groups?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, bro. No.
That's not happening. There's no example of that happening. Of Christians not praying on the street.
But why do they not do it?
Because Christians don't pray on the street.
No, but if they did, why don't they do it then?
I don't know, it's just not.
Why don't they record themselves doing it openly in these Sharia law countries?
That's not Christian practice.
Because they respect the country.
I don't know if I agree with Nico. I don't know if in a country that's driven by Sharia law that people could pray openly to God. He's right. Christians don't really do that anyways. One day I'll make enough money to afford Myron's hair transplants. It's only like $3,000. Okay, it's not that expensive. Just saying. And the flights to Turkey are not too bad either, I've heard. But I feel like Sharia law is not going to be warm. Like most countries that have Sharia law have a pretty fundamentalist, like intense version of it. Like it's very fundamentalist. And I just can't see any of that ever being chill with Christians praying openly. Yeah, like it's not really a Christian thing to pray in the streets. We don't have like calls to prayer where we have to stop and orient towards a certain location and pray. So there's lots of reasons why Christians won't be playing in the streets. But also if they chose to, like Christians will sometimes like rally together and do like a prayer circle. Would they be allowed to do like a weekly prayer circle out in public? I have no idea, actually. Muslims seem to respect people of the book. They are not big fans of Christianity because Christians are potential converts, but fundamentally not of the faith yet. And if you imagine in a more fundamentalist like Iran, which is like super, super crackdown on citizens, I wouldn't be surprised if there's no freedom of religion. That would make sense to me. I bet you if I look it up, I'll be able to find an answer.
Respect the host nation. But I'm saying that as Muslims, we should do the same. Like this is not our country. We did not found this country.
But look, so all different religions that people pray.
We got mosques. We could pray at home. Like my issue isn't with praying. My issue is with openly praying and disrupting others. Okay. If you're openly praying and you're not disrupting anybody, I don't care. Like some dude in Dallas.
I was in Times Square. We weren't disrupting anybody. I was there on the front line. I made a whole vlog. We could watch it.
Yeah, bro.
There was no nobody was disrupted.
Here's the thing.
Not one person there complaining.
I guarantee you that, of course, they're not going to complain because they don't want to be labeled bigots. But in New York City, where they're cucked, the reality is people probably wanted to go there. I guarantee you, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that went there and were like, "Yo, I want to take pictures of Times Square," and they're like, "Oh, these guys are praying. I can't go in now."
It was the section right in front of the stairs. It wasn't blocking the sidewalk. There's an open walking area, and it was that section. It was really cold that day,
of course.
And we said, and the people were still like, Times Square wasn't shut down.
No, of course
it wasn't illegal. Like it wasn't.
Okay, everything I'm seeing on Iran is that while Iran constitution recognizes people of the book, as you guys mentioned, there's basically major legal and practical limitations that make it like damn near impossible to do it. Particularly if they are Christians who are converted to Christianity from Islam. Those people are like fucked, which, as you can imagine, would be a lot of people in Iran, right? Like there's very few like white Christians moving to Iran. Like the main people in Iran are going to be like historically Christian amongst their family. But I suspect the government would often be very quick to assume that they are converts away from the faith. I forget what it's called. Apostate. There we go. Thank you. You guys are so smart. Look at you. Yeah. So like, and again, when I'm talking about Muslims, like this is an extremely diverse group of people, like millions of people across the world. So they're not all the same. I'm focusing in right now on Iran. I'm being like, okay, Iran is probably the more extreme, Saudi Arabia as well, but it's been laxing a lot. Saudi Arabia's really been modernizing. What about Qatar? Could you practice Christianity openly in Qatar? Probably not. They'd probably say something like, yeah, of course you can. But it's like, but if you're an apostate, you definitely can't, right? That's super dangerous for you. Most of the people would probably be presumed to be apostates, even if they're not. So billions, I think it's 1.8 billion. Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
We had the cops or anything. We just all gathered there and prayed.
Here's the thing, man. Like praying in a symbolic Western location that's a tourist destination.
What about like Chinese festivals?
And disrupting.
That's a public display of their culture.
Yeah, well,
I hear what about?
I'm not a fan, dude. Honestly, I don't think we should have any of these fucking parades.
You shouldn't have parades.
I don't think we should have cultural parades. No.
In Iran, you also are not allowed to worship in Persian, and you're not allowed to proselytize. Public worship is very limited, monitored, and sometimes rated. From Christian human rights sources, denial of the right to open public worship with fellow disciplines is cited from many Christian converts, and Christian groups are not officially recognized as a minority community in Iran. For recognized minority churches like the Armenians and Assyrians, their space is more open, but they also have restrictions, such as they're not allowed to worship in Farsi, and they're not allowed to evangelize to Muslims. Yeah.
It's a Yom Kippur celebration in New York. They
get them
walk
niggas out of here.
It's not going to happen, bro. Like New York is a very diverse place.
Here's the thing. I don't think we should be running any other flags. I don't think we should be doing any of these parades of where these niggas come from. I don't think we should be doing any of that, personally.
That's crazy.
I think it should be straight American nationalism, American flags only, no other flags. I don't think people should be openly practicing their religion, and I reserve Christians to be able to practice their religion.
Why not share the same hour? Like there was.
Wait, openly practicing? He doesn't think that anyone in America should openly practice their religion at all? That's crazy. Crazy.
A Dominican Day parade was last month. I went there, did a stream.
Yeah,
there.
get them niggas out of here.
And people waving it's like a big festival. It's like a big celebration in New York.
No, I'm not for that.
Does he just want Mardi Gras gone too? Like, does he just like all the New Orleans festivals? He's like, get rid of them. The French ones can go away. The Caribbean ones, they can go away. We only want American parades. We want horses and cows and guns and white people and a cross. Freya?
I don't like about that.
No.
I don't see anyone.
Oh, dude, I've shit on these parades and shit all the time, bro. Like I am not a fan of like any of these. Puerto Rican Day Parade, I've made jokes on that shit because they're fucking Americans. What the fuck are they doing? Nobody cares about reggaeton, doom, doom, doom. Like, and this is kind of where.
So is that them asserting dominance?
To a degree, yeah, for sure.
So it's the same thing.
Yes. That is a form of them asserting dominance to a degree, and I'm not a fan of it. Like, I think we need to go back to hardcore nationalism, America only, one flag policy, none of this bullshit.
One flag policy?
Yeah, like one flag, America flag.
What about freedom of speech? That doesn't make sense. Like,
what about state flags? Can they have state flags? What about like specific like coalition flags? Can they have like any coalition flags? I think there's like specific flags about like for certain types of veterans and stuff. So I can't believe he can't believe this sincerely. He does. The issue that I've noticed, so Myron used to be like a little bit quick, terrible ideas all the time. But I feel like maybe because he's just got demonetized, he's debating less often, and most importantly, he's just not like updating his rhetoric. Like everyone's heard it a million times. That I think he's just like lost his sauce. So he only kind of spends time in like these alt-right spaces. That's kind of his echo chamber. He's always been very averse, I think, to updating his opinion. And like it shows. And like as he ages, his opinions sound more and more crazy as like cultural evolution happens, right? Like most people, even the new right. And so by the new right, I don't mean like neocons. I mean like people that come out of like the mold bug. There's some crypto-fascists, there's some teapotters in there, but it's like the new internet right that's formed. It's a really good book about it by Michael Malice. Ignore all of his stuff about voting, but everything before then. The new right is very on board with certain like freedoms principles, for example. And so he just sounds outdated to be like, nah, I don't think there should be freedom of religion except for Christians. It's like, okay, that's not freedom of religion. That's like moving in the direction of theocracies, right? Like that's not freedom of religion explicitly. If you can only be free to be a Christian, it's about as free as any like hard crackdown Muslim country that will only allow you to be Muslim, or Chinese country that only allows you to be a secular. I think they don't like allow like Christians and stuff in. Like it's just doing that thing. Nick Fuentes talked about how he was pushed to an answer because of the constant denied option of asking the questions. I think the same happened to Myron. Politically incorrect. That might be the worst reason to come to a conclusion ever. If people are upset by your question, you come to believe that as evidence for basically hating this group of people. It's like, okay, well, everyone was right to be annoyed with your questions because you were never actually interested in figuring out like what the Jews were up to. You were just up to denying the Holocaust, which is why everyone was annoyed in the first place, because people not being comfortable answering your Holocaust questions, if they were mentioned, shouldn't be evidence now that the Jews are up to some like sneaky shit, right? That's it. It should be evidence that people are uncomfortable with this topic. If you like take this neutral evidence, which is discomfort, and go, well, the most reasonable thing to do is to blame the Jews. It's like, you're a bad thinker. You're a lazy thinker. It's incredible. Like there are so many other explanations for things. You're a lazy thinker. And most importantly, you're a motivated thinker. And I have no respect for anyone who's a highly motivated thinker. Like this is why I really don't like Nick Fuentes. He's funny, right? He's got awful ideas, and he's an incredibly good orator who's duplicitous. He's a very motivated thinker who in bad faith presents as somebody who just wants to ask questions and is just curious about things, which is obviously not true, right? It's just fundamentally bad faith, and people fall for it, and it's not true. Think about it for yourself. Should use my stream deck.
Freedom of expression is the core tenet of being an American.
Of course. But I think having parades is not,
Parades is part of speech.
It is a part of speech, but I don't think, look, you should be able to freely express yourself to a degree. But when we're sanctioning...
To a degree?
To a degree, yes.
So what's the degree?
The degree is once it starts to interfere with American nationalism, I think that's when...
That same premise bans any thought from being outright dismissed. It's useless. Wait, which premise? America's foundation is inherently mixed, not European, with like Native Americans. Like
start running into problems because...
So we have the no more free speech.
We don't have... No, we have free speech, but...
You saying we shouldn't?
No, I'm saying we have free speech, but obviously there's always limits on free speech, right? Like, for example, you can't run into a theater and say, well, that's free speech absolutism. You can't run into a theater and say, fire, that's free speech.
He's true about that. There are limits that we apply on free speech. What are the right limits, right? This is the big issue with the misinfo stuff that has led to so many conservatives being banned, right? So lots of conservatives got banned between like 2016 to 2022. And so a lot of people are saying, well, it's a conspiracy. The conservatives weren't being banned for being conservative. And it's like, well, they kind of were. The issue is they were being banned for misinfo, but a lot of current conservative MAGA positions are steeped in misinfo. And the issue is, what do you do about that? I don't know. I think banning flat earth might be fine. Probably better not to. But what do you do about people that are really, really effective at lying, right? Like most people become groypers because they watch this one fucking movie. What is that movie called? You guys know what I'm talking about? There's like this 70s movie that gets every single Holocaust denier started. And the reason it gets them started is it's one of these really well done documentaries that are really effective at selling a lie and poking in enough questions that you don't immediately have answers to because nobody's an expert on the Holocaust, right? It might be The Last Battle. I think it's The Last Battle, Europa, right? But they all cite this thing and it's like, they don't know. They're like, well, can you counter it? It's like, yeah, I haven't prepped in my fucking Europa shit. The issue is that like, what do you do with dangerous stuff like this? Like if people are dangerous liars, what do you do? So let me give you an example. Okay, I'll make it personalized first. When President Sunday made his smear piece on me, his first one, it was a really effective lie because it muddied the water sufficiently enough about a topic that nobody's an expert on. Most people don't know psychometry or psychometrician or psychometrist. They've never heard these words before. And so he was able to muddy the water enough about this esoteric topic that nobody's really an expert on that made a lot of people go like, huh, maybe she is up to some weird stuff. The issue was that when I went through his video, and you can see in my response video, he is knowingly, intentionally lying and leaving bits of information out that if the viewer had that information, they would come to a different conclusion. And the issue with a lot of these conspiracy theory videos is they do exactly this. They weave together all of the evidence that seems odd, they intentionally lie in a few places, and then they sell it. And I look at these types of people and I go, I don't know what to do with you. Because like back in the 1800s, some person, like 10 Jews could just line up to duel you and kill you and end your reign of problems, okay? And that wasn't the best solution, but damn, it was a fucking solution for getting really bad ideas out, is like, get rid of the man at the helm. Okay, well, we don't really support just like carte blanche murdering people for their ideas anymore. That's probably a good evolution in our political philosophy. But what do we do about malicious actors who knowingly lie, and their lies have massive ramifications on real world things? Holocaust denial unquestionably is leading to anti-Semitism. Because if you don't understand the pogroms, if you don't understand the Holocaust, you don't understand a large portion of Israel and its history. Thank you for the memberships. Thank you. And when you're talking about Middle Eastern relationships, that kind of matters. It kind of matters to understand the reason as to why initially, when Zionism was quite unpopular with the Jews, that after multiple pogroms and then the Holocaust starting, suddenly everyone was way more on board with the idea of a Jewish ethnostate. By people, I mean Jews were, right? But you can't begin to understand that if you don't understand the Holocaust. But most people aren't going to be an expert of all these things. I don't expect you to understand like the Russian pogroms of the Jews. Why would I expect you to know that? And none of this should be used to justify certain war acts that they're doing right now, right? But when you look at misinfo, I don't know what to do about it, because the reason that conservatives were getting banned from 2016 to 2022, so this is something I really appreciate Hobbit Follower for like helping me clarify, because I didn't know this information, is, shout out Hobbit, somebody send this to Hobbit Follower so he knows I appreciate him still, is that people were getting banned, conservatives were getting banned on social media a lot more from 2016 to 2022. However, the reason they were getting banned was because of misinfo and like nasty behavior. Now, to be fair, from everything I can tell, it does seem like the nasty behavior, uniquely, they got in trouble more than like leftists did, but leftists do sneaky nasty behavior, right? The conservative is the type of person who's going to punch you in the face when they're mad at you and trying to like aggress on you. The liberal is the person to like poison your coffee and spread rumors about you to your workplace so you get fired, right? They're not the same thing. And the second one is a lot harder to moderate, obviously. However, a lot of liberals have taken that to go, see, conservatives weren't getting banned off of social media more. It's like, yes, they were. The real question is, was it a good choice? That's the real question. And if it wasn't a good choice, if banning people for misinfo just leads to like echo chambers on platforms that are just willing to host them, and then when they eventually get back onto Twitter, they're way worse and way more powerful than they were before, like what do you do? Misinfo isn't a real bannable offense though. Well, the issue is it is, because a platform can ban you for anything. The problem is, how do you determine what's misinfo? Right? Okay, well, 99.9% of historians agree that the Holocaust is real, the numbers are legitimate, and that the like broad narrative that we know is like more or less accurate. Okay, so one guy who's really charismatic convinces a bunch of people that that's not true. Is it misinfo? I'd say yeah. I would say yeah. I would say it is. I'd say that most Holocaust deniers are wrong, right? Labeling something misinfo is subjective. Yeah, exactly. That's the issue that I'm pointing to, is that like we run into this issue where Holocaust deniers or people who spread like lies and rumors about, even like, for example, let's think about misinfo insofar as it talks about the way that we talk about other content creators, right? Think about Save a Fox, Michaela Raines, the girl who ended up dying by suicide because people were spreading outright slander and lies about her on the internet. Okay, that's misinfo and it's harassment, but it's all kind of subjective too, because if it was the case that Michaela Raines was actually abusing foxes, well, now it's not misinfo, and it might not even be harassment. That might just be something legitimately worth speaking about and talking about in social media, right? And so this is where we get into this problem of moderation that is unsolvable. Just to be clear, I'm not sitting here to pretend that I know better than all these platforms. But the way that we solved it in 2016 to 2022 is we banned all of these people. The problem is that they made private Facebook groups, they went onto Gab, and they went onto Telegram. Not all of them, but about 60% of them. And they got worse there because they didn't have to deal with opposing positions. And even worse, the opposing positions, people who would normally oppose them, got fat and lazy because we weren't dealing with opposition anymore. So we became worse at debates, became worse at rhetoric, so that when X opened and suddenly all these groypers could be back on the platform, now They've been practicing their echo chamber for a long time. They've been working twice as hard as every liberal content creator to get their content out there because they're so fucking stuck trying to get any shit out because they're banned off of every platform, that now that they have access to a couple of mainstream platforms, they have their fucking system worked out. They have their workflow down pat in ways that a lot of liberals don't. And we are behind. We are desperately behind. And it's a huge problem. And I don't know how to solve it, because banning misinfo is a completely reasonable thing to think that will solve the problem. And I don't think it did. But what does? I don't know. And also, private companies, they don't always want your stuff fucking crazy shit for their advertisers. But Twitter is showing that maybe advertisers don't care that much anymore, because advertisers recognize that like eyes are eyes and it doesn't really matter what it's around, because people can separate brands from the groiper comments around the brand. I don't know. Has banning misinfo ever worked as intended? Well, it does decrease the amount of people that see the new content. It does disrupt communication, right? And it does overall prevent the mainstream social space from seeing it, right? This is why in like 2025, there's a lot of like liberals, like normie liberals being like, that's a moderate conservative? I had no idea. And I'm just like, how do you not know what a conservative looks like anymore? Like, it's like they just forgot. They were like, well, a conservative is like somebody who's just a little bit less liberal than I am. And it's like, nope, they're a conservative. And now we have MAGA, which is not even conservative. They're just a bunch of crazy people. They're just freaks. MAGA freaks who fucking apparently love banks now and don't care about farmers or workers and just want to kick out without due process anyone. And, you know, MAGA is just its own thing. It's not even conservative. It's just like this modge podge of like, we're going back to America when it was great, but by great we mean, and what time we're going back to? Who knows? I don't know the answer, but I suspect it has to do with a combination of empathy, humility, and information. Yeah, try doing empathy, humility, and information en masse. We haven't figured out information en masse, let alone empathy. I agree, but also like, what? I mean, part of it is educating people, just like we had to educate people about, you know, like processed foods and seatbelts. We probably just need to, like, over time, educate younger generations to media literacy and be like, hey, what you pay attention to on your phone for shorts matters, actually. And it can be really bad when you don't think about what you're watching. You know, like if all you get on your phone is rage bait all the time, you need to fix that. That's a you problem. Like, that is the algorithm feeding you what you're attending to. If you want the algorithm to feed you healthier stuff, you have to give it healthier stuff to react to.
Absolutism, right? I would say we want to have free speech.
Incitement of violence.
Maximalism. Maximalism.
Incitement of violence is, I think, is a fair thing to exclude from that. But parades aren't incitement of violence. It's a celebration.
It's an incitement to nationalism of another country that, quite frankly,
and that's against free speech.
I'm not going to say it's against free speech. I think you should be able to do it to a degree. But once you're shutting off streets, right? When
we were praying at Times Square, we didn't shut off the street.
Bruh,
the streets were still open.
You're impeding people.
Nobody was impeded.
They can't walk in front of you when you pray. You and I know that. You can't walk in front of them.
Yeah, in that area in front of the stairs. They could walk in front, like,
okay,
on the other street, across the street.
Why did y'all pray like somewhere else, not in Times Square?
We wouldn't have fit. This is for everybody.
Why not pray in a mosque? There's plenty of mosques in New York City, all over the place.
This is for Times Square for everybody to come together from all over the city. They all came there. We wouldn't have fit in a mosque. There was too many people.
Bro, pray in a mosque. Like, pray in a mosque.
We wouldn't be able to fit.
I truly do think we need to bring patriotism back. We need to bring back nationalism back. And
what else is happening in Times Square? See, you're upset about like praying in public. What else is happening in Times Square at the time? Like Mickey Mouse, Elmo, drug deals, fights,
of course,
peanuts. Like, it's just stupid shit, like rappers selling CDs. It's not like the alternative to what else is happening in Times Square besides praying is like, okay, were we really interrupting anything important?
So I saw a comment that my title is geared after, which said that Sneeko and Myron came to a knife fight. Sneeko brought a fork and Myron brought a spoon. I think that's a pretty good assessment of this. Like, Sneeko's no king debater, okay? He's not, look, I don't think anyone, no matter how uninformed you are, you go on like the crazy, weird grift that you do, unless like your thinking systems are not great. And if your thinking systems aren't great, you tend to generally not be a great debater. It's not a one-to-one, blah, 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 caveat. That's just true though, okay? That's just true. The white dress is making me be like demure and nervous. I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to caveat everything that I'm saying instead of being a based giga chat and being rude all the time. But Myron is like, he can't even engage with the counterfactuals. Like, he just basically is saying over and over, yeah, but like white people stuff, right? But like white people stuff is better, right? Like, that's fine. Just like no Muslim stuff. And it's like, why? Well, the country's Christian. Okay, well, the country's not Christian. Okay, well, it was built on Christianity. Okay, sort of. But again, it was also built on freedom of religion. So, vampire victim vibes? Release your inner roller. The country's so largely Christian, just a lot of currently dormant of Christianity. Well, the issue is the populace being Christian isn't the same thing as the institutions being built upon the concept of Christianity. These aren't the same. The institutions of America were built with a presumption of freedom of association, right? Like, that was built in. That's what they wanted. And so, like, people might be like, yeah, well, Christian principles are valued in North America. Yeah, obviously. I wouldn't disagree with that, right? Like, most of the people that are from America, born in America, were raised Protestant or had Protestant backgrounds. Thank you, grassroots hegemons. You guys have to keep up. Grassroots is fucking self-funding this stream right now, okay? Reminder to donate to your local streamer. Yeah, I hear what we're all saying, okay? I hear it. The issue is, that's not the same thing as institutions being built on it. We just do have freedom of expression. We've always had it. And freedom of expression means Christians having church bells and atheists moaning about church bells and Muslim people having calls to prayer.
We stopped was a couple drug deals and Elmo and gorillas.
No, man, because here's the thing. Police got to go out there.
There was no cops.
You had no cops?
We had no cops.
Nothing.
It was just us, completely organized.
I still don't.
It wasn't sanctioned by the city. We just showed up.
I think, right, when you're praying and you're disrupting once your prayer and your worship starts to disrupt other people,
drug deals in Elmo,
it's still disrupting. Like, it's still disrupting. Like, I get what you're saying. Okay, drug deals in Elmo, but also families that might have wanted to walk in that area, people that might have wanted to take pictures in that area.
Times Square's like 3 blocks.
Now they got to listen to you guys pray out loud. Like, and this is what I'm trying to say.
20 minutes?
It's still disrupting, man.
Okay, but there's still disrupting. Parades happen all the time.
And the thing that kills me is, like, y'all could just pray in a mosque. Pray in the mosque. Like, why does everyone have to?
We do pray in a mosque too.
Yeah, but pray in the mosque. Just pray in the mosque only. Like, why do you guys got to pray out loud, like out in front of everybody?
I mean, it's a display of culture. And like, what about the Hare Krishna? Every park in New York City, if you go to Washington Square Park, Central Park, you'll see all these bald white people when they have the monk outfits on. They're like, Hare Krishna, banging the drum. I see that every single day. In the train stations, in the park, they do it loudly in public. Look, it's not a big deal. I just see them. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, hey, and they offer you a book.
And you're used to it because you're like in New York City, you're around these all the time. Like, my thing is I think once your worship starts to get to a point where you're disrupting other people, I think that's a problem, right?
What about Christian stuff? Like, when they protest or hold like large, like open prayer services, or like all these, like, Christians do public disruptive stuff too. It feels like everyone has forgotten like why it was a miracle we arrived at the rights that we did, right? Like, it's like everyone, because they're so insulated and they have no friends in their community and they don't know what it even means to like have a relationship with their neighbor. It feels like everyone's just forgotten that part of why we arrived at these rights, which are a damn miracle, by the way, like freedom of expression and freedom of association, is because the reality that living with people who are different than you, whether it's from religion or just ideology or just personality, they're just annoying, is hard. And what happens is that certain people can amass power and they can take out their power on people whose only blemish is just expressing in a way that other people don't like. And part of the value and beauty of America is being annoyed at your neighbors and being annoyed at the Muslim people for worshiping in town square when you'd rather that they're not. But understanding that while you are annoyed that they're doing it, it's good that they can, because when your dumbass group wants to do like the fucking surprise dance corps in the middle of New York, you can too. Okay? That's why it was not built on Christianity. It was built on the founding fathers' concepts of what tyranny looks like and a rejection of all forms of tyranny. Okay? That's what it was built on. It was built on the founding fathers looking at the way that America and the states were being treated as a result of being a colony and saying, what are they getting wrong? We're going to do it right. Most of the founding fathers were fucking deists, okay? Which back then makes them agnostics, okay? They were not wanting to be Christian. They weren't putting Christianity into it. If the founding fathers wanted to make it a theocratic democracy, they could have. They could have, and there probably would have been some political momentum for that, but they didn't. And that's the point.
Nobody complained. Like, there was no
they don't
disruption.
complain because they don't want to be called. This is a very, bro, you got to remember, no one's going to complain because this is a controversial take. Like, not a lot of people are willing to sit there and say, bro, you probably shouldn't be praying. And I get attacked for it as a Muslim guy. I could only imagine someone that's not Muslim saying like, getting attacked, being called Islamophobic.
How is it disrupting?
Most people are scared.
It's a public space. Like, so you can do that. You could pray. So look, public spaces, you can play your phone speaker. You can do drug deals. You could.
Sure.
What about, is the gorilla who takes up space? Is he disrupting people from walking on that side of the sidewalk? Like, I don't understand this.
I don't think it's appropriate as 1 to 2% of the population to be openly praying.
1% of the population is
what Muslims are about 1.5 to 2% of the population in America.
Minority. When people say like there's an Islamic takeover,
no, that's a lie. That's a scam. I agree with you. I agree with you. There's not a Muslim takeover. It's really a Jewish takeover because they're a minority. We don't have the same representation in government. Whatever. What I'm saying is, as a guest, right? Because we are guests here. What
does that mean? Guess.
We're guests. This is not a Muslim country. This is not a Muslim country.
Oh, then you could make an argument that's a Jewish country if they.
What does it mean? We're guests here. What? Crazy. It's always very interesting seeing like genuinely like kind of like self-hating groups. Like, why are you saying this? He's a citizen, isn't he?
True. Okay.
What do you mean we're guests? I'm a citizen here. I'm not a guest.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Hold on. I'm not a guest. I have a passport. I was born here.
Of course.
I'm a birth certificate.
What I'm saying
it's my country.
Islamic faith, of course it's your country. But what I'm saying is that the Islamic faith is not.
It's crazy how much the issue is. Sneako's winning, but it's not because of anything Sneako's doing. Myron just has the stupidest argument ever, because this is a bad argument. Like, I don't care what you say. This is a dying argument. It's not sound. It doesn't pass any sniff test. It doesn't pass any counterfactual. It's a bad argument to say that Muslims can't have freedom of religion, but Christians can. Like, obviously, this is a bad argument. So Sneako basically just has to not agree and provide some counterfactuals, and Myron's cooked, which is how bad Myron's doing. It's pretty impressive how poorly. What's not impressive is Sneako's performance. It's fine. What's very impressive is how bad Myron's performance is here. It's unbelievable.
A part of the American infrastructure.
Neither is Christianity.
This country was founded by Christians.
But it's not part of the American doctrine.
The people that founded this country,
it's not in the doctrine. Just because
the separation of church and state was put in place so that either would not corrupt each other, but it's still a Christian country founded by Christian people, right? Because you can make the argument. You can make the argument like Syria isn't a Muslim country because Bashar al-Assad was a secularist, or Saddam Hussein was a secularist. It's still a Muslim country majority, and they're going to play that then.
I'll say that, yeah, it's a Christian majority country, but it's not a Christian country by definition.
I think this is a Christian country,
but there's no paperwork or any it's not in the Constitution.
It was found. It's not they have God in it.
Even when you pledge allegiance as an American, I grew up
pledge allegiance saying about God. The God is mentioned in.
Do you say Jesus?
They believe you say God.
You don't say Jesus.
You say God. You don't have to say Jesus because
you don't say the Holy Spirit.
To them, God and Jesus are synonymous. Synonymous.
Yes and no. Actually, if you talk to a Christian,
it depends on who you talk to. Yes,
being honest, bro.
They look at God and Jesus as the same. Like, because he's the Son of God. So
he's also God's only begotten Son. So they are separate entities.
It depends on who you look at. Who you read.
That's what it's.
Are we getting into Trinitarianism? The Eastern Orthodox have been alerted. They're on their way to destroy with facts and logic to fight over Trinitarianism. Hey, this type of theology, by the way, the worst, okay? The worst schism ever, truly. The worst schism ever being Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox. Trinitarianism is just like a theological discussion and fight about like what's the nature of the Trinity. How is it not a monotheistic religion if there's one God but it's three gods? But how does that work? And like the most popular argument would be, it's like, what is it? God begets the Son and the Holy Spirit precedes them both, I think is what it is. So it's like action words, basically, to be like, they're all like states of God's being, kind of. It's stupid. Are you still a theist? Yes, I'm still a theist.
It's a different conversation. Yeah. But the reason that this is in God,
it's all just vibes. It's not. Like, theology is like very rich philosophy. Like, if you're not into Christianity and whatnot, I don't expect you to care about theology. But it's not just vibes. It's like, it's philosophy. It's like physical philosophy. It's philosophy about shit that we like can't truly know the answer to, which is similar to like a lot of like moral philosophy, for example. It's about as like unjustifiable as any moral preconception, because fundamentally these things are going to be axiomatic at its nature. So it's not meaningless. Like, it's not just vibes. It's more than that, but it's not like STEM research. It's not like taking a ball and dropping it and measuring, the effect of gravity and air force and whatnot.
Trust is because it's the most universal statement.
Yes, but the point I'm trying to make is that regardless, this country was founded by Christians. They reserve the right to run the country however they want. And if they do want to play church, I take it a step further. If they want to play the church bells, I think they can, because this is a Christian country. Just like in a Muslim country, if they want to play that dance 10 times a day, you got to shut up and take it.
Okay, so
that's
if it's a Christian country, then why do you not support Israel? Doesn't the Bible for evangelical Christians say God blesses those who bless the state of Israel?
Because we
by
know
that definition,
we know that evangelicals is cap.
Okay, well, I mean, it was founded by Protestant Christians. That's what Protestants believe. If you're following your logic that you want to be a patriot and a nationalist, then you should support Israel.
Actually, Protestants don't really fuck with what's his name, The Jews and Their Lies, by who wrote he was the head of the
Protestants mostly fuck with Jews. He's coping here. There are like a few sects of Christianity, like Protestant Christianity, that really don't like the Jews because they like killed Jesus or whatever. Most fundamentalist Protestants love the Jews, okay? They go to Israel and they cry and they go to the Wailing Wall and they do the whole thing. That's like a pretty standard fundamentalist Protestant thing to do. So he's coping here, okay? Yeah, there's a couple of sects of Protestant Christianity that don't like Jews and blah, 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 blah. Most love Israel, like a lot. Like too much, frankly.
He was the founder of Protestantism. Something Luther.
Martin Luther?
No, I think it was Martin Luther. Yeah, dude. Only evangelical Christians like observe Israel as like real. Everyone else, like all real niggas, Christians, like Catholics, Orthodox Christians.
What do Protestants think?
They don't fuck with Jews either.
They don't say God
true.
bless the state of Israel.
No,
that's not true. That's not true. Like, who was like one of the most famous fucking Christians on the right? Charlie Kirk. He loved the Jews. He started questioning Israel, but he started questioning Israel very late, by the way, when they've been like starving Palestine and like restricting aid like measurably to an extreme degree. And basically like right now the situation is fucking insane, where it's like, we're going to keep bombing them after they've given us all of the hostages back because they didn't return all the bodies, even though, let's be fucking frank, there's no way they're going to find all the bodies ever. It's fucking crazy. Not to open up a fucking IP conversation, sorry.
Evangelical retards.
Okay, so what?
And Schofield Bible reader niggas. But most Christians are that aren't retarded, right? And remember, this is just American Christians. Christians all over the place don't fuck. If you look at Eastern Europe, they're all super anti-Semitic. They're real niggas.
Okay, so wait. So
Orthodox Christians are super anti-Semitic. Shout out to them.
No, you hang out in anti-Semitic spaces. That's it. You hang out with anti-Semitic Christians. These are not the same thing. Like, unironically, Myron's being like, yeah, Christians all hate Jews because I hate Jews and I'm a known Jew hater. And so all the Christians that fuck with me hate Jews. And it's like, yeah, because any Christian that doesn't hate Jews probably can't stand you. Because first of all, if there's one thing all Christians hate, like, especially if they're the hateful brand, like if it's I should say, if there's one thing Christians hate, if they're a sect of Christianity that's just gonna be hateful towards like entire groups of people, it's gonna be Muslims. It's gonna be you, motherfucker. They hate you way more than they hate Jews. Are you kidding me? Every fucking Christian nationalist who like puts up with Myron does it because he's a handy token. They hate Muslims way more than they hate Jews. Like almost every single sect of Christianity. I can't think of a single sect of Christianity that would like Muslims more than Jews. So I don't even know like what he's talking about here. Most Christian sects are neutral to positive towards Jewish people. That's just how it is.
Yeah, but like
They don't fuck with the Jews. Let me just say that, because anti-Semitism is a fake word.
But it's your mentality approaching thinking that we're guests here.
Yeah, I think we're guests here. That is
Dude, Myron, we were born here.
No, the Islamic faith and the religion of Islam. You are a guest as a Muslim in the United States.
I'm not a guest in my home.
Bro, we are guests here.
We
are guests here.
We were born here.
Yes, but our religion, our religion.
So now your faith makes you a guest.
Yes, if you're going to open, yes, to a degree, yes.
To a degree, or
yeah, because obviously everything is like nuance, like nothing is absolute. But like the point I'm trying to make is that the Islamic faith, this is not a Muslim country. So
nuance, true.
Therefore,
so what about Catholics? Are Catholics guests? Because it was founded by Protestants?
I would say they're closer to.
So they're still guests.
I would say they're because here's the thing with Catholicism, Christianity, all of it. It's It's all kind of one. I look at them all as the same. Like they all believe in Jesus. They all believe in Jesus.
They disagree with each other,
of course, fundamentally. But I would say
a lot of them say that each other are.
If they believe in Christ, they're a Christian to a degree. What denomination isn't really as relevant is if they believe in Jesus as their Lord and Savior, that makes them a Christian.
Protestants criticize.
He sort of. He's definitely losing a lot. There's a lot of Christians that fucking hate the Mormons. Okay, anti-Semitism is a fake word. Is such a crazy thing to say. Myron the knower, truly. Thank you, Devin. True. I'm not so much an Israel show, but I do love, I don't know what that word is, an Agolite. However, the anti-Semitism has become super noticeable, especially with people like Candace. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
In general, they're all Christians because they all believe in Jesus. There's different,
yeah, but by your
Muslims,
logic,
for example, right? There's Sunnis and there's Shia. But we don't look at them differently with our faith, honestly. We really don't. They pray in the same mosque. They do some funny shit praying on rocks.
That's not all true.
But they pray in the same mosque in general.
Sometimes there's some Shia mosques, but
they can pray alongside.
By your logic,
they're not considered kuffars. They're not considered kafirs. They're just misguided. Sunnis.
By your logic, then only Protestant Christians should be the non-guests in America if it was founded by Protestant Christians.
No, because they're all Christians. I look at them all as Christians. Denominations. This is literally why the whole separation of church.
Just say brown. Just say Arab people. Like at this point, like just. Who's all Christians? Secular white liberals are Christians? Question mark, according to you? Like what's happening right now? What are we talking about? That's crazy. What a crazy take. I feel like he just wants to say Arab people are guests. Arab people are welcome. Like just say that. Oh, is Sneeko here? Hi, Sneeko.
And state was to avoid that problem, fights between themselves. So they literally instructed that in place to deal with that very problem you're talking about, which is like the different sects in Christianity.
Okay.
That's why that's why the separation of church and state was instilled, was to keep Baptists, Protestants, Catholics, and all these other guys from fighting each other, because this is the problem that they had in England.
I don't know. I don't think that's true. Therapy stream back. It cooked 3 years ago, right before ban. True. I texted you about it if you want to do it. But also, just so you guys know, just because Nico's in chat, it's not your opportunity to take out all of your personal feelings at him. Just be normal. Erudite, you didn't tell us you were buddies with Sneeko. I don't know if Sneeko would consider us buddies. We haven't talked in like 3 years. We're like warm and friendly with one another. Actually, I think he had been banned on Twitter for like ever.
So
you believe we're guests in our own country?
I believe as Muslims, we are guests in America, yes, because America is not a Muslim country like Saudi Arabia, like Egypt, like Sudan, like UAE, like Qatar. These are Muslim countries. When we go there, we respect and we don't say a word. When we were in Dubai, we had jalabiyas on. I spoke Arabic whenever I had a chance, right? We assimilated. We respected that culture.
This
right?
is just white people.
Even the first time before your verdict.
It's literally just white people, brown people.
We respected that culture because we understood we are guests there. I think Muslims need to exercise the same thing in the United States.
Yeah, I know, because we're literally visiting Dubai. Yeah, I was born here. Like, what do you? It doesn't.
Yeah, but the Islamic faith, we're American citizens, but the Islamic faith is not. There's
nothing. I mean, you're just making up America. Like
we're 1% of the population. That in itself proves that this is not a Muslim country.
You can single out anybody and say that they're a minority to some extent. It's not. You don't need to describe somebody just by their faith. You could say that your skin color is, or where you're from, or.
But when we're talking about
people
faith,
have glasses.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Hindus, Jews,
trans people. I know they love those people.
Muslims,
minorities,
we're all guests
rights,
in America. Being honest, we all are. I'm not just saying this is as Muslims we're guests. I think.
What about minorities? Are minorities guests in America?
Like, what do you mean minorities? Like blacks and shit like that? Or
anybody not
Asians?
White? Anybody not white?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yeah.
We're also guests.
Yeah, white people built and founded this country, bro. We're all guests here.
Okay, so the only.
What about Native Americans? Are Native Americans guests now too? You're like, look, you might have been here first, okay, but we took it over, and now you're guests here, and you have to pay rent. Stupid motherfuckers. And the rent you're paying is how many kids die. Fuck you, okay? What is this? It's literally just not white people. Also, which white people? I'm French. The French and the English, they didn't fuck with each other super hard. In fact, they had like, I think about 100 years of war, at least. Okay, so am I allowed to be here because I'm like white, even though I'm French? The French didn't, we were beefing with the British all the time. Like, what is this? Mylan's chat is wild. I know. I'm thinking about putting something over it. It's just like, it's just like this one guy just spamming the same thing over and over and over again.
So America is entitled to white Christians only. They're the only non-guests here. So you have to be
founders.
To be a true American, you need to be a white Christian.
I never said that. I never.
Sneaker's done actually a pretty good job of just like walking him along his thinking. Like it's really not a debate. It's just like a Socratic interrogation of Myron's thinking. And Myron's just like, this is one of my favorite things about debating Myron. He'll just bite every bullet if it's true. If it's true about his opinion, he'll just bite the bullet, even if it's the most insane shit ever. You'll be like, so you just do like Saudi Arabia more than America? And he's like, I mean, kind of, yeah. And you're like, okay, fair enough.
Everyone else is not a guest.
We are Americans, but we are guests here because we did not found this country. We're Americans, but like we're not the, I guess, original Americans.
Okay, so what about Europeans, like people with second-generation Europeans who came here?
Well, I'm talking about like the people here that like their family's been here for generations, fought in the Revolutionary Wars, whatever.
Okay, so if I'm a white guy and my parents immigrated here after World War II, and I'm a white Christian, and my parents are from Germany, right?
And you came here after World War II.
Am I a guest?
I would say from framers' perspective, if you came like you were here in the 1700s, like if you have lineage back to like the colonial individuals.
What is that, like 5% of the country?
Probably not as much, yeah.
I feel like his chat was like so mixed, and now they're mad at Myron because he's like being pro white people. Like there's a lot of like L whites in the chat. It's just very funny because there's no way that like, I just don't get Myron's plan here. I think he's just genuinely saying what he thinks, but it's like you're shrinking yourself to an audience that fundamentally only wants to tokenize you if they'll even watch you.
I mean,
so everyone's a guest here.
A lot, yeah.
So whose country is it? It's just those 5% of people?
I would say America is a white majority Christian country. And we are guests here. Yeah, that's what I would say.
So the only people, so 95% of people here are guests.
Yeah, dude. Nowadays, yeah, with the mass immigration, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
95% of people.
A lot of them, yeah, a lot of them are guests.
Okay, so then,
and this is why we have a lot of the problems we have because we have all these people coming in, bringing their cultures, not assimilating, not learning.
Crazy, but this is also why I love debating Myron because that's just like he'll just bite every bullet. Like you could just walk him along his thinking, and he's like, yeah, actually, I do think that I'm a guest. And 60% of the population in America is also a guest. And it's just like crazy.
Language like New York City. I'll give you an example. New York City is a perfect example. New York City is the definition of a melting pot. You got people from the Caribbean, from Africa.
It's always been that way.
Since
like the 40s predominantly.
It's been, but it's
even before that, it's always been
even more so now.
With the Ellis Island, the turn of the century, it's always
of course, and it's always the Statue of Liberty. Give us your week and whatever. Cool, whatever. But the point I'm trying to make is like New York City is a perfect example.
Yeah, like whatever. The Statue of Liberty, like one of the most iconic symbols of America. Blah 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 blah. Don't care.
Example of like why this multiculturalism, mass multiculturalism, doesn't work a lot of the time. Like I think New York City is a failed city.
It's really safe. This is the least amount of crime we've had in a while.
Failed city.
Okay, that's fine. But
how is it a failed city? It's a great city.
It's a failed city, bro.
But based on what?
I think it's a failed city. Crime metrics, dirty.
I hate this. Crime metrics. When it's a big city with lots of people, there'll be more crime there. The reason blue state cities have so much crime is because most cities are blue. And most crime will happen in cities because that's where most people are. There's not a lot of rural criminals running around doing mass shootings because they have to drive so far to get between each of their like 2 to 3 victims. Okay? That's the reason why. Also, I'm pretty sure New York has like one of the largest, it's got to be like one of the most important hubs, definitely for like outputs of like trained and educated individuals. But I'm pretty sure its GDP is also insane. That's crazy. I didn't even plan it, guys. I didn't even plan it. The ranking by GDP, cities across the world is New York, Newark, Jersey, and New York area. That's crazy. God, I could have planned that if I tried. Right.
Cost of living has been going through the roof as the decades pass. I think New York City is a failed city, bro. And I think
so. When was New York City?
And if it were not for its historic and premier position as a major city in the United States, it would be degraded even further.
So when was New York not failed? In the 70s, there were prostitutes all over Times Square. Drugs were worse. Crime was worse. Giuliani did, fix a a lot of that stuff.
Giuliani did fix a lot. The 90s was actually the most. 1990 was the most murders.
Okay, the mafia was running it in the 50s. Mm-hmm. So it was it was failed then.
I think it was better than it is now. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was better than because here's the thing,
Crazy.
right? So here's the difference. When the mafia was running,
look, the mafia was white. and they went to church on Sundays. They were good Catholics, okay? So yeah, the mafia, they're kind of bad. They're doing kind of some bad stuff. Did they start like some of the like worst unions? Yeah, but like they're white and Catholic, so like whatever. At least they're not doing prayers. Okay.
Things, and they were involved in crime or whatever. They were killing each other, right? They were like killing each other, like other made guys. Hey, you have a problem with this family, whatever. Yeah, the violence sucked and everything else like that. But it isn't
thank you
like
for the
now.
10 subs,
Like now,
Sneeko.
it's worse.
I didn't see that. Thanks for the 10 subs.
Because you're like getting, well, the 70s was the worst decade, by the way, for crime. But I think New York City has gotten worse as it's become more and more of a mass immigration in itself creates a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I think, and New York City is like a beautiful personification of that.
Yeah, but
that
it's
mass immigration creates problems.
People say that and then they go visit New York. And
So like like us having this majority of guests has actually created a lot of problems for us, because now everyone's like me and you.
Okay, so
learn English language, like assimilate to the culture, respect the culture.
Should the American guest, like who should be deported from America?
People that are here illegally. People that are here illegally. Yeah, get deported.
And what about the people in Dearborn playing, the Adon? Should they be deported?
If they're here illegally, yeah. If they're here illegally, yeah. But my thing is, like, I don't think it's fair to the other residents of Dearborn to play the Adon multiple times a day just because you enjoy a slight majority. It's only like 50-60% Muslim majority there. And, well, excuse me, let me rephrase.
What does that mean? Look, there's only like 50 to 60% of the Muslim majority. Like, that's like nothing. What? I think the city should do a vote. I think they should do a vote. They should vote by a mayor, and the mayor can run on the thing of saying, we'll have these things or we'll ban these things, and then people will vote, and that will decide for the city. And if people really, really hate it, they'll have to leave the city, which is unfortunate for the people who are maybe the minority, but like, I don't know, church bells happen. It just, the shit happens. You could also like maybe do some balance. If it's like too loud and too disruptive, because it's like multiple times a day, again, church bells are multiple times a day, have some sort of balance. Maybe you only have one in the morning and one in the evening, something like that, okay? Actually, I'm pretty sure that calls to prayer, isn't the calls to prayer only a few times? I feel like when I was in Israel, I only heard it a few. Is it just twice a day, morning and evening? Because I know they're supposed to pray up to 5 times. Okay, there is 5. I was like, am I stupid? Yes, the answer is yes. But not about that thing. He has to do it like twice. Find a middle ground,
50-60% Arabs and people from North Africa, which you can assume 90% of them are going to be Muslim, so you can assume that it's a slight majority. I don't think it's fair to the other 40% in the United States that they have to deal with listening to the Adhan 5 times a day. Yeah. I don't think that's fair. Yeah.
That's what democracy is. Shit isn't fair for like 40% of the population all the fucking time. Look at the latest election, okay? 49% of people didn't want Trump. That's how democracies work, is that sometimes things happen that you don't want. But that's why we have democracy, so that hopefully you can rally your group together, and if it's a good enough thing and you can get enough people on your side, you can have your thing. That's like the fucking point of democracy, is that sometimes things happen that you don't prefer, but you honor democracy anyways, because you certainly don't want the majority group taking away your right to do it either, okay? That's what it is. We have a constitutional republic. Oh my God. I don't even know. No. First of all, no. Second of all, a constitutional republic is a fucking democracy, you stupid ass, okay? The reason they called it a constitutional republic originally in like founding father world is because the only concept of democracy that they had at the time was the Greek democracy, which was stupid and nobody wanted to do it. So they called it a constitutional republic. The issue is that the constitutional republic operates like a fucking democracy, which is why we call it a democracy, because the language still applies. We've just gotten far enough away from the Greco version of democracy that we can just call it that. This is like actually the stupidest shit. I fucking hate this talking point. I wish every single person who said,